Welcome back to the Table Rush Talk Show, where we dive deep into the stories and strategies that shape success in the business world. I'm your host, Mischa Zvegensov, and today we're sharing a riveting conversation I had with the remarkable Charles Cormier. Charles isn't just a typical entrepreneur. He's a mastermind in blending AI with cold outreach to turn podcasts into lead generation powerhouses. His ambitious goal to interview 10,000 CEOs is not just about numbers, it's about connecting, learning, and driving business in innovative ways. So sit back and let's unravel the insights and strategies that Charles brings to the table. Enjoy today's episode. Charles, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mischa. Nice to have you. It was nice to speak to you last time.
Yeah, man, we had a lot of fun on your podcast. And where to even start with you? That's my first question. Where to even start with Charles? You have so much energy and you bring so much enthusiasm to the table. Have you always been like this, or talk to me?
Yeah, let's start with space and time. I run daily and I have a lot of insights that come from these runs. And I had a quote that I just remembered, which was, why a Rolls Royce when you have space time, when you can aim for changing space time and moonshotting, what's the use of a Rolls Royce at this point? And that came about because I was watching this YouTuber, and he's quite a lot about flaunting as well, which I don't have much against. I think it's cool to make it to the top, but I think people should have great ambitions. Maybe that's where we should start. I always had great ambitions. I just didn't know how to get to where I wanted to go. The educational system has sort of always been against me. I was spending pretty much 50% of the time outside the class. My teachers always fired me from the group because I was a little class clown. I still got to university miraculously without being fired from the school. I was fired from the classroom, but not from the school. And I always had that great energy. If you wondered, always had that ADHD, they call it, right? But it's mostly a superpower. So I don't like anything that is prescribed to me by another human being. Learn to take all that energy, focus it in places that I think I could be impactful, and build a little empire. I still have way more to do, but this life is really fun. I'm chasing something quite exceptional on a daily basis, interviewing a bunch of cool CEOs, having a bunch of clients, getting market insights, and I'm basically a real product market fit nerd, if I could narrow it down to one sentence.
I love that, Charles. Let's go with the school system was against you for a minute. Where did you go to school? You obviously have an accent, so I don't want to presume anything.
French. Yeah, Quebec, Canada, Montreal. And primary school, south of Montreal.
I guess
I was always good at school.
Yeah. Oh, good at school, and that you're clearly a smart guy. You have a vision. Yeah. Probably, I think the school system is great if you're in the box, but if you happen to be outside of the box, have some vision, have some energy, maybe emotional too. I know the school system didn't have capacity for me, perhaps because I tended to wear my emotions on my sleeve. And so that can make teachers uncomfortable. Not many teachers are prepared for that, perhaps. I think even my family was a little bit thrown off by my enthusiasm, zest, creativity, shall we say.
Yeah, it's an interesting system. I played their game, so I had good grades and all, the chess champion when I was younger. I wasn't like everyone in Canada, they play hockey, right? So my friends, they were all like very good at hockey, but my parents somehow didn't had me try hockey, so couldn't get good at it. But I always had a good cardio. I would always win these competitions at my school. Of like there was a ding, and then you run from one side to the other, and ding, and then it became like quicker the ding. And if you didn't make it to the other side, you were eliminated. Well, I lasted 21 minutes in these things, like ding, ding, ding. It was like super fast ding, and all the kids were watching me and were like, what the fuck? Why is this kid still running after 20 minutes? We're all bored. Let's get out of here. Um, so I always had that endurance as well, that mental endurance, so very creative, but very rebellious as well. You didn't want to be my teacher back then.
Mm. Quickly as well, anybody watching, listening to this, you can go to charlescormier.com and follow along and see what Charles is up to. CharlesCormier.com, charlescormier.com. Check it out, man. Charles, you are up to so much fun stuff. I think before we get into that, though, maybe let's dive into the chess champion a little bit. Chess champions, definitely, at least as far as the press are concerned, are quirky.
Yes. I was also the, champion in a Génie en herbe, we call it. So it's like trivia, I think, where they ask you questions about the world and stuff like that. Then, shit hit the fan in high school because I had my puberty later on and I was like smaller than the other kids. The school director still hated me. That didn't change. But what changed was that they actively tried to sabotage my academic career, right? So they put me in the lowest math, in the lowest. I didn't even had physics and science because they judged me too dumb. It was actually a consequence of me fucking around all the time and getting suspended and all that. So I began doubting my intellectual capabilities as well, doubting my social skills too, because I wasn't the popular kid anymore. I was still hanging out with the popular kids, but I wasn't the one. So
Mm.
that kind of fucked with my psyche and finished high school, went to Cégep, we call it in Quebec. It's like college, I guess. And from there rediscovered my passion with international studies, studying the world. I had entrepreneurship class. I started political science after that to become a lawyer because I was really good at arguing and failed. They rejected me out of the program. That was another like big slap across the face because I had good grades and all, 85% average. But in Quebec, it's a bunch of little people that stand in line, to be a lawyer. And it's really contingenté, we say in French, lots of competition. So couldn't get in that. Started international business. And that changed my life because I traveled to Hong Kong. They gave me the opportunity to do an exchange, student exchange, and I started my businesses at the same time. I was always entrepreneurial, selling iPod Touch for. I would buy them like for $20. Obviously, that's not an iPod Touch, and resell them for 100. Stuff like that. Then I started buying stuff from China. Got my first sell job in which I could dial 200 phone calls a day. Started a business with my mentor from that business, was an LED business, and really got my shit together. And I was like, okay, I'm going to change because I also skipped a full period in which I was an alcoholic, like drinking every weekend, binge drinking, like when I tell people that, they're always surprised, but I must have blacked out at least 100 times in
Ooh,
my life. 100 blackouts, imagine
yeah,
what that does to brain.
so
Um,
heavy.
yeah, but my brain is, I mean, I'm weird, but my brain is not affected by that. I don't have any memory problems. I must have biohacked pretty good because that was also my first business. While I was my first serious business in Hong Kong, I started a nootropic supplement for the brain. My obsession with the brain, the memory, the mental performances. Came back from Hong Kong at my parents' house and was like, yeah, I need to get out of here. And I began making money with my agencies. I bought a ticket to Oaxaca, Mexico, because it was the cheapest and was the nicest Airbnb I could find. Traveled there, met my wife, traveled the world with her, started a bunch of businesses, did Ironmans and shit, and very happy man nowadays.
Fantastic. So, a couple questions for you. How old are you these days?
These days I'm 30 and I can remember because it's a round number. Any number before that, like from 21 to 29, I had to ask my wife how old I was.
I appreciate and understand that. It's so nice to be in the flow, and it speaks a lot to your partner too, and your business that you're age isn't age isn't a qualifier for anything. And I think when
Right.
we're single or we're in business flux, age seems to be so important. So that I think that speaks to your being in the flow and the zone.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of weird things like that about me, a bunch of conception, society conception that for me are just like not important. I call it noise. Can I point to examples of that where, for
Please
example, when
do.
I send cold emails, most people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna send 5 or 10 cold emails, and if I get a negative response, it's over. My reputation is burned, and I'm stopping the whole operations." Well, me, I give almost zero emotional shit about what people respond to my email. And actually, most of the negative responses that I get on my campaigns, like "go fuck off" or "is the worst email I've ever seen," I make some studies on these guys and go check their LinkedIn and see who they are, and they have one commonality: they're all losers. Um, so basically, it's like stuff like that. I do take notes, I'm like, okay, thanks for the feedback, but really, would you care the feedback of someone that's just not as accomplished as you are, or someone that's website look like they live in 1980 still? So quirks are cool, and I invite people to embrace their oddity, if that's even a word, like be odd and embrace your odd self in society and in business nowadays. And since the 80s, most probably since the Taylor age, we've been told to stand in line. And going back to what I was saying about the educational system, it's all the same. You're in a mold, you stay in line, you be the same, oh, how do I increase my revenue this year? I'm just going to check this other business and I'm going to try to model them, and I'm always
Mm.
going to be by the conventions. I'm always gonna have this professional smile on my LinkedIn. I'm always gonna post about stuff in my niche, but I invite people to tell the truth, like how they are, because a lot of people out there will relate to their struggle, and it scales way more to tell the truth rather than to hide behind a corporate wall. Plus, it pays the bill hell of a lot more. I will tell you, when you're odd, people respond to you and they're like, "Dude, you're weird. I like that." And I'm gonna pay you, While if you're just like the others, how could they even have a shot at booking a meeting or finding an interest with what you send them if you're just like the hundreds of others, right?
Yeah, I think that speaks to the diversity of the human race too, and finding your niche, right? And really embracing who you are. I love that, embrace who you are, embrace what you're about, and lean into that versus trying to pivot away from that and be scared of that. And obviously, the internet, the tools, the systems that you are applying really allow us to do that to good effect. So I appreciate that message so much. Thank you for that. Are you active in sober communities? You still sober? It's a topic you don't like to talk about, or?
No, it's not that I don't like to talk about this, that it was so long ago. And alcoholic is a big word in my case, because in Quebec, it's alcohol culture and it's like college and party culture. So it's not like if I was drinking every day, and if I was addicted to it, um, my my binge drinking, let's call it that way, stopped after European trip. Like the movie Euro Trip, if people watch that, well, me and my friends, being extremists, we tried to reproduce that. One of these friends ended up being my co-founder, by the way. Another I don't talk to because he's a total dick, for the record. And the other one is a cool guy. He married his high school sweetheart that initially I told her I love you, and she didn't reply anything. She went with him instead. So talking about my high school traumas, we went
Help
to
shape who you are.
yeah, we went to Europe, France, Germany, Belgium, where else? Netherlands, obviously Amsterdam, right? And we drank for 2 weeks straight.
Mm.
And getting very, very drunk every day, and in Paris, the wine bottles, we had like 2 or 3 each of those. That was like our pre-drink.
Yeah.
Um, and they're very cheap. They're like $1 bottle, something like that. Anyway, I came back from that with like probably a 2 or 3 day hangover, right? And I was like, okay, I'm totally fucking done with that because the massive headache, the pain, during 2 to 3 days, because yeah, it was straight up. We would literally bury our hangover with more alcohol.
Mm,
And I think that the lesson in there, other than trying to sound cool, is, sometimes, and I think that's what I did back in these days, because one of them was my co-founder, very smart guy, still one of my best friends to this day. And I told him like, okay, yeah, we're going all out here, and after that, it's over. Dry stop. And that's exactly what we did. After that, I moved away from the city with these friends. I changed circle as well.
yeah.
I wouldn't hang out with these folks anymore. And yeah, my life started changing little by little. My mom bought me this book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Started visualizing these things, got my first mentor. So that's another lesson here. And yeah, stuff started falling in place. I wish that would
Yeah.
have happened earlier, but I didn't have any role model. I mean,
Yeah.
my dad, he's an entrepreneur. And I'm very much somewhat like him. But, like one of my mission nowadays, now that I'm about to have kids in less than 2 years, is yeah, I'm going to provide them a different kind of education. They're going to start their business really young. They're going to introduce this capitalist market as quick as possible so that they can scale, they can go by their own as well. As
Hey,
soon as they're tired from their dad telling them what to do, then they
yes.
can move, and they have their own money.
Hey, I just want to say, I'll go on record saying that the party lifestyle is very hard on the body. It's not sustainable. And ultimately, it's really hard on the people around you. And it's just, I don't know what to say. I'm all about the sober lifestyle. I myself am sober, love being sober. I just would prefer that. But those who indulge, God bless my friends. But me being in my 50s, not drinking, drugging, taking the chemicals that are so pushed on Western society now by the industrial, what, healthcare system, right? They're just
Oh, the
constantly,
complex, right?
yeah, the
Of
complex. There we go.
they as soon as you start uni, is like parties and sororities and all these clubs. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it's a rite of passage, and that's what it is. So you need
absolutely.
to go through it, and you need to grow the fuck up. That's
Hey,
why,
hopefully we survive too.
yeah, that's why, I don't talk too much about alcoholism, because the folks I talk to, it's not affecting them much. I had one not so long ago, actually became a friend on the pod. But other than that, topics that I think are affecting more the folks that are in my audience in terms of addiction, like porn. Porn is
Mm,
like pretty pervasive, and it's widespread in society. It's a disease.
mm.
It just, you know, people are making money on the back of that. And people think porn is just this other thing, but it's destroying society little by little. That's like probably a more relevant one. And apparently 60,
Yeah,
70% of men are still on that, jerking off on a daily basis almost. And, they're just juicing out. And that's good news for folks like me. It's weak competition. You're like
yeah,
small meat to me. I just like a shark, and I come right at you because you just don't have any drive.
yeah.
You're
I
addicted to wanking that shit on a daily basis, while I'm just banking in my business. Like all my creative energy goes into this, while yours goes into that. And
yeah.
that's a topic to talk about.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting topic. I think gambling's another one. I think the proliferation, at least in America right now, of casinos and sports gambling. And I know in Europe, a lot of that stuff was legal online sooner than it was in America, but there's countless stories of people just losing it all, losing their families, just going going, getting blown up by gambling, by porn, drugs, alcohol. I don't, we don't need to go down this rabbit hole. People can have and indulge in whatever habits they have. Unfortunately for me, being an addictive, compulsive personality, I've had to weed all of that out of my life, and it served me well. But that just speaks to me and my addictive nature versus the folks who can do it normally, whatever that is. But before you answer to that, let me just say something here quick. My guess is you've got the date that your wife will be pregnant and the birth date of your kids already
No,
scheduled, or what?
no, I have that addictive personality too, by the way. I think there it's the best of us, by the way. It's just like ADHD, quote unquote, right? Once you're focused and obsessed on one thing, if that thing is healthy and scalable, for example, the business or improving yourself, improving your relationship, I mean, life becomes really fun.
Yeah.
Um, I don't, yeah, like that's probably weird about me, but I'm not like in the numbers too much at this stage because I've tried that before, like what is dictating my life, quote unquote, my structures, my calendar. So I
Mhm.
have stuff in my calendar, I have stuff in a Google Calc, but writing down the date, on many, many things, I'm flexible. And people ask all the time, like, how do you do with 25 meetings a day? How do you survive? Well, there's weird quirks like that about myself. Like, I'm not stone, I'm not like super into one thing. I'm really flexible on some things. So my fitness, for example, I don't have my fitness in my calendar. I just have a break at some point of the day. Someone cancels a meeting or something, and I just go out with the dogs. And guess what? Like the next meeting after, I might be 6 minutes late, and I won't care much about that. I'm just like or called today. I was washing the dog right before you, and I don't stress about these details, because if I would, yeah, then my life would be chaos, If I would start analyzing everything, and sometimes I do, I look at this calendar and like, holy shit, that's a lot of meetings. What if I get sick or I don't show up that day, like what will happen? And then it's the anxiety, right? It's the bad trip sort of demon that steps in, it's the anxiety demon, but that demon rarely, rarely, rarely shows up in me because I give myself some breather as well. Else I would burn out.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Excuse me. Quick, Oaxaca, Mexico. I hear there's a great left, a good surf break there. I think it's a left. I used to surf a lot. Yeah, is that the case?
Yeah, Puerto Escondido is like a top five destination in the world to surf, I'm not sure left or right. I am about to get into surfing because it's like a fear of mine. Water. I almost drowned like 4 years ago in Huatulco, which is an amazing spot. Want to buy a house there, but yeah, surfing's this cool sport. Left or right, I'm not sure, but you should definitely go. The waves there are humongous.
Yeah.
They're like 5 meters. Like, tell me how you got into surfing.
Yeah, I grew up snowboarding, skiing in the mountains of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and skied all over Colorado, Utah, Idaho, and snowboarded in my youth. Natural next step for me as I was called to the coast was to pick up surfing. So as soon as I landed, literally as soon as I moved to San Diego County, what is Encinitas, California, which is the Pacific coast, literally from the day I moved to California, I started surfing. So that was 2001. And surfing is just, it's amazing. The ocean is such a powerful, humbling playground. And the illusion that big surf is what will do you in is just that, because you can get humbled by the small surf too. But
Yeah, humbling's a nice word. And I'm not a humble person, and that's almost on design as well. That's another quirk maybe for the audience. I'm not humble, and I know that I'll be constantly punished, by life. And I like that. So there's a couple of insights in there. First, I think I was always punished by higher authority, whether it was my school director, the police, or God. In that case, it's mostly God when I'm arrogant and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna do a double Iron Man, I'm gonna do an ultra. Yeah, you're very much punished during these times. And second, I've learned to love pain. I think that's a tip and a secret to life. If you always expect happiness, you won't be happy. If you push hard stuff on yourself, it's kind of a Goggins philosophy. If you're putting yourself in pain and imposing pain on yourself on a daily basis, you will live a happy life, because your body will naturally release these feel good hormones after the workout, but after some time during the workout. So you start to feel good, the runner's high, they call it. So impose pain on yourself. Be humble for most of you. Like me, I'm just aiming for very high goals. So and I like the pain. I like the learning. I know I'll get punished. It's like Jake Paul. Go watch the Netflix documentary about Jake Paul, the problem child. I really much identified to that guy. Quite arrogant, but he's about to become one of the best boxer in the world.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? God bless Charles. You're a ton of fun to talk to, so I'll tell you that. Um, let's talk about how you help your customers or what it is you do. I know you have multiple business channels, is my impression, but perhaps a better question is what is your favorite channel or business channel or thing that you do or help people do? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, it does. I do a bunch of things basically, like as a product market fit person, you're constantly testing out products and market. My agencies, they started a decade ago. My first agency was a Facebook ads agency. The second one was a call center with 200 employees. The third one was a LinkedIn outreach agency, and then LinkedIn started banning uh, 500 connects a day to 50. So that was like, what do I do from there? One of my main guys, he suggested cold email back then, a guy that worked for me at the call center. Um, so yeah, I've started cold emailing with Apollo.io, which is an amazing tool. It's $100 a month. You can outreach 10,000 contacts. You connect it with SendGrid. You can outreach 50,000 folks. It's quite amazing. And yeah, I started seeing amazing results with cold email. Could book like 20, 30, 50 meetings a day. It was quite amazing. And it's still that way, fully scaled. So my main product is cold email AI, but inner fields, there's a lot of folks like me. There's a lot of folks in lead gen. So I don't really mention that I'm in cold email or whatever. I developed some products, sub products to that. For example, podcasting as a service. So we outreach a bunch of folks to get them on the pod. Then we have a backend sending them emails so that they eventually convert into clients or into some beneficial action for you. So got a bunch of these sub products. I can use cold email to raise capital. I can use cold email to create partnerships and so forth. So cold email is the front end. You can see it almost like a Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads if you want. And I accomplish a bunch of actions with these. So that's what makes me different. And the fact that I'm testing constantly a bunch of markets, people come to me for advice. I coach them or I do it for them. I cost 2K per month for coaching and 3K for done for you. And yeah, it's pretty efficient as a service. If you think about it, if you hire someone that will create this beautiful system that's well oiled and on autopilot, constantly generating revenue for you. Obviously, there's sales cycles and there's closing rates in the equation, but it's just a huge ROI, and the ironic things that most people are not using cold email. Are you using cold email, for example?
Not to the level that you are, no. But I definitely do, I constantly have emails going out in the background for sure, cold emails, introducing myself. Um, it's just natural in what I do. I spent the bulk of my sales career, telemarketing, sending out flyers, flyer campaigns, building lead lists, telemarketing teams, and dealing with that rejection. And it's so powerful when you hear the no, 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 no. And then you get that one person that's like, oh my gosh, you emailed me at the exact right time. I can't believe it. Or you called me at the exact right time. I can't believe it. And I'm very much like you, where at this point in my life, it's part of the sales cycle or it's part of the sales game, and I love it. I love the sales game, and so I know that there's going to be rejection along the way, and I'll oftentimes send the hardest email first, right? Like the biggest person, the hardest one, the one that I think that I can't take that response from, if that makes sense. And
Yeah, I mean, if you mean like your best email, I'm sure you always want to send the best one first. If you mean the most controversial one, depends, on the campaign. Some people take it right, and I think there's positive controversy vs insulting someone. You never want to insult someone as a first cold email, like your website doesn't work. Um, and
yes,
I checked your video and this is not good. I'm not sure why people still try to do that. The approach is always add value in these emails and
yes,
be different, be short, right? Because people have a very short attention span. So if you check that list generally and you target the right people with the right offer, you should get a bunch of replies. But yeah, I got these headlines that are weird. One
yes.
yesterday was Tate and Trump.
I was speaking more to the hardest email is always the first email for any of us in sales. And maybe you're so cold-blooded at this point. I don't want to say cold-blooded. That's not the right
Yeah, I
word.
am. Yeah, some sort
Yeah.
of alien. Can be warm though. I have that.
Yes. You
I
got a
have that
wife,
feature in me.
some dogs.
Yeah.
Hey, but I was speaking more to starting new campaigns. Once you're seasoned in what you do, you're obviously seasoned in what you do, it's easy. But I think for any of us that are new to the game or new-ish to the game or new-ish to a new niche or trying new things, that first email can be the hardest. That first phone call can be that hardest. That first networking group can be the hardest, right? So that's what I mean when I say do the hardest one first. It's like just hit send and get the data. And I think you spoke to that. Test and try, get the data. Yes. And before you answer that, you said Apollo IO and then you said another tool. So you said Apollo IO was 1,000, or excuse me, $100 a month, up to 10,000 emails for anybody listening. Go to Apollo IO, obviously. But then you said another tool after that. What was that?
Yeah, Apollo.io and SendGrid. So SendGrid is an SMTP. Basically, it allows you to get in the inbox at scale without losing open rates. In 6 days from now, Google is striking again with deliverability and fighting spam, quote unquote. So try to use these tools because I still see some
6 days.
folks relying on Gmail. Yeah, 6 days. And Yahoo, right? But who cares about Yahoo? Yahoo is like 1% of users. Google, those big Gmails, like 30% email users or something big like that. So yeah, if you have a Apollo and SendGrid, you won't risk trouble most of the time, or my clients, because there's various other tips, like sending good stuff to the right people. Because at the end of the day, it's people flagging you as spam. And if enough people do that, then you're in the shit and you're in the spam. And
Yes.
yes, the tip that you mentioned is quite very much true. The hardest step is always the first one. So usually my recommendation as a coach is, practice, 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 get some ideas, write them down, and instantly launch them in Apollo. Not
Love it.
even take the time, just write the headline, write a very short email, written as you speak, right? And launch. And if you do that enough times, you're going to have a nice view on the market. You're also going to remove your fear of rejection. So, yeah, very true there. People, you need to launch more and
Absolutely.
instantly, and don't even consult that amygdala part of the brain, which is fear producing, right? Oh, what if? What if? Oh, that doesn't sound right. That's not good there. I can't say that, No, fuck that. You write the email. Maybe after you're done writing the email, you can recheck the email and edit it. But don't start with the what ifs, because else it's just paralysis by analysis or whatever it's called. And you don't send anything in the end. So just launch, just do
I,
it. Like Phil Knight would say.
I love it. And that process as well. Then you start learning what people want, what their objections are, what people need. what solutions are, how to address their objections, and it's
Right.
such a powerful process.
That's exactly it. You get the replies. And then at the start of this call, I started saying not so nice things about people that hate on my emails, but there's some people that give me really good feedback. They're not hating, they're trying to help. Um, like your message is, I don't understand what you do. I got that for two of my campaigns. I mean, I launched thousands, and because I got that feedback, I'm gonna return to these emails, gonna modify these emails, make them more understandable and so forth. But yeah, you need that feedback and you write down their pain points. Once you have their pain points, you can go with solutions. Once you have the solution, then you might get yourself a meeting and a sell.
But so good, so powerful. Thank you for breaking it down like that. Let's talk about podcasting really quick. You run 5 or 6 podcasts. When you say podcasts, I think you help people start podcasts and then get guests. That's your what you like to do.
Yeah, I have podcasts of my own. They're all strategic, right? For example, VC Wisdom Pod. Well, I like VCs. An investor myself, that's one. Two, these folks, they invest in a bunch of startups, right? So if I can get them, I can get their startups. And if I get their startups, they might buy my services. I have the sales wisdom pod because I love sales. I don't do much of sales wisdom nowadays because I had either like really nice and great folks on the sales wisdom or very bad ones. I was like, not sure what you're doing in sales. Um, CEO wisdom is my most popular. This one is, yeah, a sure bet. Founder wisdom too. And for my clients, yes, I run their bots. Most of them, they go similar to my approach. So they target CEOs, they target founders, they target high performers. They get them on the pod, they follow up with them, maybe do business or not, but they publish a pod. The guest publishes the pod as well. So it's pretty exponential. And yeah, I offer that as a service. I think podcasts, everyone wants to get on a podcast nowadays. It's an exponential product, it's a nice front end. Not a lot of people are using it as a funnel. So there's a huge product market fit for that. I even run a podcast as a service campaign for one of my clients. So it's really like being impartial and being cooperative and being open-minded, testing out stuff and seeing what works at the end of the day.
Yeah, love it. Thank you for that tip. Again, everybody, charlescormier.com, CharlesCormier.com, and you can follow Charles and LinkedIn. Love your LinkedIn profile. I mean, you're all over the place. You're ubiquitous in many areas. So you could literally just Google Charles Cormier and probably get plenty of places to find you. Um, excuse me. Quick question: which podcast was you? So you interviewed me, and which and when of your podcasts is my episode going to be published, or do we not know yet?
Yeah, most likely Founder Wisdom Pod, but they're all published under one channel, which is my YouTube. Very bullish on YouTube.
Yeah, cool. And so I'll say I was going to say how'd I do, but you interview so many people that and that was just going to be an ego boost or deflation for myself and a little bit of fun, but we can skip that question. Next question, and I think our last question because I want to be cognizant of time, and your dogs are probably dry and are thinking, "Feed me now." Um,
They're
but
sleeping because I gave them relaxing treats.
good man.
There's a strategy behind everything.
Yeah, chess champion, right? That's that chess champion mind. You are 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 steps ahead. It's beautiful.
And
Uh,
it's subconscious. And, like I said at the beginning of this call, it's not something I consciously think about. Just my body. It's doing things and understanding things from so much repetition. I guess the lesson here.
yeah, love it. Thank you. Before we hang up or before we end, oftentimes people, when we hit stop, they go, "Oh, I wished I said that," or "I wished I'd have said this," or anything like that that comes to mind.
Well, I post tons of content every day. Amazon's at my door, so I'm gonna have to leave in a couple of seconds. But people just start stuff and be different, you know? Like there's so many humans on this planet Earth. A lot of them are in pain, and go do something different and go lead and go do good, you know? There's not enough humans on this planet Earth that are forging a path for themselves, and humanity needs that. So let's fucking go.
Let's effing go. Charles, it's been a ton of fun. Go get your Amazon, and I look forward to circling back around with you as the months go by. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.